there's a couple other areas to think about too. Schools. You know, the University of Washington has a very strong alumni career center. So we're not even just talking about your entry level. We're talking about people who have gone through the universities. I know Seattle U has a strong career center that their alumni go to. And then if you're looking for some of the niche talent, talking to the professors and the deans of certain schools. I know the Evans School, which is the Evans School for Public Policy, they have very strong ties with their alumni. And they keep track of where they go and how they move. And they're always willing to help promote those individuals for new opportunities. It just speaks highly of their organization and they're willing to do that. So it's connecting with those resources, because they've got a lot of connections that you're trying to find, especially if you're looking for somebody outside of your circle. If you're not a finance person and you need to find a finance person, the Association for Finance Professionals is a great place to go, but might not be your cup of tea for an evening. So talking to some of the finance professors at the university might allow you to make those connections a lot faster and you not have to spend $35 on a dinner where you're listening to them talk about financial indexes for an evening, which could be brutally painful. I apologize to the finance professionals in the room. But that would hurt me.
And don't forget the trade schools and community colleges as well. There's a wealth of resources in town at the various community colleges, and it's not just the big universities that have great talent. So keep that in mind as well, the schools.
And then consultants. It's kind of funny because sometimes you always think, well, if I call, the HR consultant I'm using because I need to get an HR person, why are they going to want to give me an HR person? Because then they're going to lose business. But Resourceful HR is a prime example. We work with a certain group of companies as they're growing, and they might reach that point where they need an HR professional. And it makes sense. And we've got a strong network in that area so that we can help connect people, and because we know the organization, we know the leaders of the organization, we can make appropriate connections instead of just anybody who we see off the street. So there's a lot of those type of people floating around who have amazing networks in this community in their functional area. In the nonprofit world, development directors, the fundraisers, are incredibly hard to find good ones. And so it's amazing how you can go to the Northwest Development Officers Association, you can post it there, you can network there, or you can start talking to other development officers who know of ones that are looking to move, and there's consultants out there that do a lot of this fundraising consulting, so they know everybody in that space, and they are happy to start referring people. It's good for their business and it's good for the organization. And my philosophy is if we can help our businesses, our whole community can benefit, so we might as well help each other out. I spend a lot of time doing that. The moral of the story is the passive versus proactive. The passive, that post and pray, you will get a gazillion resumes, and then it's a question of, is it the best use of your time to be sorting through a stack of resumes to find the best one? Especially in the small business that doesn't have your fancy applicant tracking systems like the Microsofts and the Amazons of the world do, where they can use keywords and pull out people real quick. We literally have to go through them person by person, and that's a really painful evening on the couch, usually with a glass of wine, to have to go through this stack of 300 resumes and hope that you can find 15 to talk to. Whereas if you take that more proactive approach, and I haven't really talked much about proactiveness of LinkedIn, but oftentimes that's how a lot of organizations do it. They do some keyword searches in LinkedIn, find people with the skills they're looking for, reach out to those people, and just start that networking infiltration. That more proactive is more likely to find you the right people so that you have 15 good people right off the bat versus the post and pray and hope. And if you have a more technical position, you're not going to get 150 submissions. You're going to get maybe 30, like our good friend Jane did. And was only able to find 2 that had relevant experience. And the firm I used to work at, we did some executive search work, and we used to joke, every position, there's always your token barista that applies. So there was always that somebody who was a barista anywhere, and that baristas are very good people, and I appreciate them immensely. But it was always, we were looking for a new chief financial officer for an organization, and we had a barista applying. So they're applying whether it's for unemployment purposes or just for, it'd be fun to work there. And that's just, is that the best use of your time to have to go through a stack of those kind of resumes? We make light, but so I think it's really looking at it from the passive versus proactive approach. And the proactive, there's, you know, a lot of organizations you can go to that you can partner with that can help you, whether it's an agency who is gonna do it all for you, or it's a consultant, a contract recruiter. You know, like I said, Resourceful HR does that outsourced recruiting, because there's just a lot of time and manpower involved in that, so it's really assessing what's the best use of your time.
I feel that I need to add another resource to support an employment organization. It's not just Pioneer, but Northwest Center and Orion, who, of course, depending on what kind of person you're looking
Right.
for, and you're really helpful.
That's true. And there's a lot of good programs. You mentioned the technical colleges. The unemployment office has set up a lot of, you know, there's a lot of retraining that's going on right now with a lot of the workforce, and so there's a lot of programs. You know, I think very highly of Pioneer, and there's a lot at the technical colleges very specific to industry, very specific to skill set, and sometimes it's just Googling or it's just reaching out to some people in your network to find out where are those types of skills at, and they can get you connected.
So the next step is, how do we select somebody from this pool? You know, we all look at Laura mentioned the barista as the candidate. Well, what a lot of folks do is they look at the job description and they say, you know, 8 out of 10 of these things I have. I have all of the soft skills. I have all of the basic expectations, so I might as well apply, because if they meet me and I can talk about how I fit this, then that gives me an opportunity to move up and to do something different, maybe in an area that I'm really interested in. So that leads us to the interviewing and selecting process. So I'm going to let Laura kind of start with the interviewing techniques, because she has a whole lot more experience with that than I do.
How many of you have done a phone screen? And what's our main reason why we do that?
Less interviews.
Time and money. It's cheap. Very cheap to sit on the phone for 30 minutes and talk to somebody. How many have done a lot of in-persons? How many enjoy doing those? I always ask that because I think it's just hilarious how many people don't enjoy interviewing. And that's probably why I went into recruiting, because I did enjoy it. Finding out about different people. You know, phone screens are very, very, very popular because they are cost effective, time effective, and allow you to really get into what are the core really quick. Does this person have some of the key skills I need? How many of you have hired somebody without ever bringing them in person? Ron has. Chris has. Has it worked out?
Yeah, what we do is we hire samplers, so we do a phone screen, then we have them come in and try out for a day, and then we get feedback from them if they like it, and if the staff likes them, and then we go from there.
So you kind of have like that in person.
Yeah, it's always, it's a phone interview. So, I don't care what color you are or anything, it's blind in that sense.
That's true. But that is an advantage of the phone, is that it's, you can't see, you can't make any judgments based upon appearance.
But it's also amazing how many people that we reply to say, you know, please let us know, that we never hear from you after they send in their resume and cover letter for the job.
That is true. I've always been amazed by that myself. Why did you apply if you weren't interested? You know, I think there's another one that's in here that I thought of last night as I was preparing, is the video conference, or Skype is what a lot of us use. How many of you have done a video conference or Skype interview? Rachel? Any thoughts on those?
Can save a lot of money. Like, we looked at candidates who are out of state, or like maybe they're traveling, and or we've got, like right now actually it's an interview, part of it's in person, part of it is video conference, because the hiring manager is in New York, but they're interviewing someone for our Seattle office, and then we have 3 other people part of that interview who are in the Seattle office. So it's gonna be a mix of both, but then I also have a Skype interview this Friday for a software developer who's out of state right now. So rather than fly them in, like this works for their schedule, it works for us. Again, it's gonna save a lot of time and money.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because video conferencing, if we all recall, used to be pretty pricey. But, you know, if you did kind of your cost benefit, oftentimes for finalists, it was still cheaper to decide who was your finalist by having 2 people video conference without having to fly them both in and then narrow it down. Well, with the advent of Skype, which we can all do for free, assuming that you've got a webcam and a decent internet connection, Now we can talk visually to a lot more people. And so then that does, like Chris mentioned, it makes it no longer blind, but it can also provide that insight you need as to level of professionalism, poise, enhance that communication skills a little bit. You know, we all can assess communication over the phone, but then it's a little bit different when you're over the video conference